Hi and welcome back. Today we're going to talk about charcoal and how you use charcoal and the different types of charcoal. So these charcoal sticks here, that's what these are. These, we don't use them often in class. They get very, very messy. They'll get all over your fingers. You can get different weights. You can get a very fine. This one's very fine, and see how soft, like it comes off really, really easily. And then you get the heavier ones that don't come off as easy. They're a little bit darker. These are great for adding shadow and smearing. These are for adding darkness and depth to your pictures. And then you can also have white charcoal that adds the highlight. I like to do charcoal on gray paper. You can do charcoal on any paper. I prefer gray paper though. It adds an extra step to the depth of the drawing that you're creating. You can use smudge sticks just like you could with a pencil drawing. They also have charcoal pencils like this. This is a regular old charcoal pencil. And they have these wonderful things that help keep your hands clean. This is a charcoal stick holder. So this holds a stick of charcoal. You'll see that? And that way I can hold it almost like a pen and draw with it without getting the charcoal all over my fingers. This is one of the messier ones that we will end up doing. All right, so I just want to show you, we're going to draw an eye. So I'm going to start with just a basic outline, and I'm going to use my pencil for a basic outline. I'm going to draw very lightly. And then just define the shape of the eye and where I want it to be. And again, when you're drawing an eye, you don't see the whole pupil. You don't see the whole iris part of the eye. You don't see the whole circle. You see part of it. And then the lid covers up the top part of it. And sometimes you would see the whole bottom part or most of the bottom part of the eye. And this is just one eye. There's lots of different ways of drawing eyes because there's lots of different eyes in the world. So you would draw an eye based on who you're looking at or the eye that you want to draw. All right, so this is my eye. I'm going to go ahead and mark my main lines where I want them to be. The eyelid comes out above the lash line here. And then most eyes have a little bit of a thing underneath the eye as well. Then your eyebrow lines up with the corner of the eye. Go straight up. And I'm just going to kind of map out where my eyebrow would go. Okay, so that's the shape of my eye. Now I'm going to use charcoal to fill it in. When I start, I always like to start with the center of the eye because that's the most important part. And so I pay a lot of attention to getting this shape of it right. I'm going to create my highlight. I'm going to draw where my highlight is. I'm going to have two highlights here. And it can be any shape, really. The highlights, it doesn't matter what shape your highlight is. I've got two highlights in the eye right there. Now this part here, the center of my eye, it's the pupil. It's the really black part. You would still see where the pupil goes in the highlight. It would just be lighter. Okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and start coloring in. And I like to use my pencil first because it's a medium weight pencil. It's not too dark, it's not too light. It gives me the basic highlight and shadow that I need to get the definitions where they should be. Now, under the eye, this part here is going to be darker because the lid will cast a shadow on the eye itself. So this part under the eye is going to be darker than down here at the bottom. So when I press on harder, I get darker. But do you see how I'm getting all this texture in here? It's because I'm using a pencil and I'm not blending it. You can use a tortillon, which is one of these smudge sticks, to come in and smooth out that surface and blend in that shadow. And just like pencil, charcoal is a lot of layering. I can layer my charcoal as much as I want to make it as dark as I need to. Going lighter sometimes is harder, but I can make it as dark as I need to using the pencils, the charcoal that I have. Right in here where this would be, that you're still going to see part of it. It's just going to be lighter because there is a highlight on it. Now, I'm not even using the charcoal at the moment. I'm just using my smudge stick to bring that shadow down onto this part of the eye. Now, I'm going to use a really lightweight one. And it breaks real easily. That's why it's a smaller piece. It breaks very easily, so you've got to be careful with these. And try and make your circle as round as you can. Then I can go back, and I'm not done with the eye yet, but I can go back and add a little bit of white. So where my highlight would be in the eye, just to make it kind of stand out. Again, I'm not filling the whole thing with white. I'm just adding a little bit there. And then I'm going to use, I can use my tortilla, my blender stick, or you can use just regular old Q-tips. You don't have to have the fancy tools. You can use just a regular old Q-tip right here. To blend that light in, like that. Now I'm going to use a medium weight charcoal, and I'm going to come through and add just a little bit of more of a reflection in the eye, making this part of it a little bit darker. I'm going to start drawing lines in. The lines of an eye tend to be fairly radial, and they radiate out from the center. Now, not everyone's eyes are the same, but you tend to get a similar look in most eyes. Again, I'm going to blend it just a little bit. I'm not trying to blend it so that you can't see the lines at all. I'm just blending them to add some depth to my eye. Then I'm going to come back with my white. And add some highlight lines. Just in here, towards the center of the eye. Some artists don't blend anything until they're done, and then they blend it all at one point. It's completely up to you as to how you do it. Then I'm going to come back and add a little bit of a reflection. It's the highlight, but the highlight is what reflects whatever you're looking at. So let's say I'm looking out at maybe the edge of a window. Maybe there's a person looking out the window. And there's something behind them. Here we go. There. Do you see how that kind of makes a reflection? It doesn't have to be perfect. Reflections are often fairly blurry. And you don't see the whole thing. It's just a reflection. But I am going to add some more white. Part of this, and then I'm also going to add some white to the outside of my eye. You'll notice I'm not doing white all the way up to the very top. I'm going to get a clean one because I want the white to stay fairly clean. I'm going to blend that white in. Now I'm going to add a little bit of a shadow here. This is your lash line. Even men have lashes. Everyone's got eyelashes, so I'm just going to darken that line a little bit. And using a Q-tip, I'm not pressing down hard. I'm just going to drag that shadow down into my eye. Do you see how that creates a more realistic shadow there? Same with this side. I'm going to drag that shadow down into the eye itself, creating a very realistic shadow. And the edges, the corners of the eye are going to be in shadow too, because that's not where the light's directly hitting it. Brighten this up just a little bit more. Then again, I'm going to use a medium weight. I'm going to add some shadow. Don't worry about the lashes yet. Lashes are detail. You can always come back and add the detail later. You want to get your basic highlight and shadow down first. So I'm going to add some shadow to the top part of my lid. And down here for the under eye. And in the corner. The corner here is where it connects to the nose and it creates a nice shadow. So then I'm going to use my blender stick again because I can press down harder with that and really, really blend it in. Now, you see that rough edge? I'm not a huge fan of the rough edges. Some artists like that really textured look. But for my purpose today, it's not really ideal. So what I'm doing is I'm going to rub in one direction. And I'm going to come back and cross hatch with my blending stick. So I'm not actually drawing the lines, but it's the same feel as cross hatching of drawing. So I'm going to cross hatch drawing in another direction with my blender. And that makes the shadow more smooth, so you don't have any harsh lines between the two, between the highlight and shadow. Now I can add a little bit of a highlight right here under the eyebrow. And there would also be a highlight right here on the eyelid. And right here in the tear duct in the corner. Again, I'm going to use a clean Q-tip. To create that highlight. And this one here, I'm going to blend it in. The clean side of the stick here. Right, so that's the basics on how to draw an eye. And then, of course, the more shadow you add, the more realistic it's going to look. And when you draw your eyelashes, I want to show you something. When you draw your eyelashes, you don't actually draw lashes that stick straight up, back and forth across the whole thing. If you look in the mirror, your eyelashes kind of overlap and crisscross like that a lot. And the reason they do that is because they are meant to protect your eye. And so it's kind of like a last defense. And so they don't, they're not there just to look pretty. So they kind of block things from falling into your eye. So it makes sense for them to, and this is a eraser that I like to use. It makes sense for them to overlap to kind of block. I'm just lightening that shadow up a little bit on this side. For them to kind of block things coming into your eye some. So I'm going to use this. This is a harder charcoal in this. And I'm going to come through and I'm going to draw my lashes. Now some lashes are thick and some are thin. And they're all going to kind of overlap each other. And as you get closer to the center, they're not going to be as long. They're going to start getting shorter because they're curving out towards you more. You're not looking more at the side of them. And on this side too. They're shorter on the inside of the eye anyway. Almost like, I know how some of y'all have seen me do grass blades with the grass growing in different directions. It's kind of the same thing. You're still going to see them. But it's not a uniformed curve all the way across your eye. They tend to overlap. And then once you have the basics, and I can go through and soften some of those lines. Oh, and don't forget your lashes on the bottom. So everyone's got lashes on the bottom too. Men and women. And most of the time, I swear men have prettier lashes than the girls do. And it's not fair. Alright, so I've added my lashes. It's my least favorite part. I don't like doing lashes. I feel like I can never get them quite right. I'm going to darken this up some. This is my lash line. It needs to be pretty dark. And then I'm going to go back in with the medium. And I'm going to make, you see how I'm layering my shadow? I'm going to make this shadow up here a lot darker. And the reason I'm doing that is that adds the contrast and enhances the highlight and shadow, which is what contrast is defined as. It enhances the highlight and shadow of the eye, making it pop more, especially on gray paper. I'm going to add some more shadow here around the edge. And right under the reflection too. I can add a little bit of shadow. Not a lot, but just a little bit right there under the reflection. Then I'm gonna just blend it in. And if you mess up, the good thing about charcoal is it is very easily erasable because it's pretty much a chalk, like a powder. To do eyebrows, I don't color in one solid thing. What I'm going to do is use strokes, just like eyebrows grow. You use strokes for the eyebrow, like this. And short little dashes for where the hair would be. And then I can soften it up some. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you want that texture there. And I'm going to add some white to it because you would see the highlights as well. There you go. Then erase the smudges that don't need to be there. And the last thing you do when you're done with a piece of artwork is you sign it. And we're done. Thanks for joining me as we learned how to draw an eye with charcoals today.